Okay, what's poppin', Tub Nation? Welcome back to Tub Takes. We got a very fun one. I'm so excited. But first, let's explain what's happening. This is a video podcast where we go over what's been making waves in the VGC scene today. I'm joined by my co-host, Adi.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Tub Takes.
We also have your Portland finalist, Chuppa.
Hello, everyone.
And we have the people's champ. You're running his favorites. Michael Eternal Snowman. I'm probably gonna call him ESM on the thing because I don't know. That's just all that's all I can say. Anyway, ESM, hello.
Yo, what's up? Glad to be back on Tub Takes.
I'm glad to have you guys. This is gonna be a lot of fun. We got a couple of things to talk about at the top before we kind of just dive right into Portland. But we'll also be, checking in on Twitch, talking about, or, reading comments. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. This will also be up on YouTube tomorrow. So if you're here now, but you can't make it through the whole episode, then feel free to catch the rest on Adi's YouTube channel later. And that's really it. So we're actually going to start off with something that came to us just before. Jimmy, we did see the Japan circuit news, so we do have that here. It's going to be the second topic. But yeah, the first topic here is Dragon Cheer. I don't know. There's not a lot to say about this one. They what is this the most comparable to? Like, Skydrop is like actually a relevant move. Like, what, have we ever seen anything like this in the past?
Are you telling me Dragon Cheer is not a relevant move?
That's fair. That's fair. I think I was talking about this on the ride back with ESM, or maybe the ride down, or I've said it to several people. I think if the bug stayed in the game, which I should clarify what the bug is. Hey, wow! Thank you so much for the subs, Gavin. Oh, it's
Gavin. Thank
yo. I had to read the name. I was like King something. Gavin.
Hey, Alex. Now that you won, will you please tell us what Tub is taking? I think it's taking your money.
Taking. I was gonna say taking your invites, your championship points, your prize money. I don't know. It's another Tub dub. And not that we ever do roster announcements, but technically we did add ESM to Tub today, so that's another regional champion that's in Tub from this season. So, expect the ESM's jersey taking.
We can't retroactively claim a champion. That doesn't sound fair. What, are we just going to snipe James back next?
I was going to say Joe. No. Yeah, let's grab Joe. Yeah. And then, we've been talking to Wolf for months about getting him in there, but we're still in the negotiation stage. Unfortunately, he wants 700 million for 10 years. Anyways. Dragon Tier. I guess we could talk about it. Let's talk about what the bug actually is. So the move got added in the patch, and a couple days before the tournament, people realized that the effect of Dragon Cheer, which increases your critical hit rate by 2 stages, did not go away. If you're a dragon type. Sorry. If you're a dragon type, you target your partner with this attack. The effect of Dragon Cheer would not go away. And so then you could switch out, come back in, and still get, guaranteed crits if you have some type of item or a move with a high critical hit ratio. Otherwise, 50% critical hits on everything else. And yeah, I heard that, and I'm like, okay, cool. I still have no interest in the move. But what was the timeline? It was the bug was announced, and then I think within an hour or two they banned it.
I think it was more like 6 hours. Like, I remember
Okay.
getting off the plane in Seattle, seeing this news that Dragon Cheer was messed up. I think it's so funny that an official announcement is how I learned this bug was in the game. It wasn't like reading a Japanese Twitter post. It was like, no, an official Japanese announcement saying like, "Hey, the move is messed up. We're gonna fix it." It's
Mm-hmm.
like I might not have known if I didn't hear an official announcement.
Mm-hmm. I remember
That's
actually you're reminding me that it was actually more than just like an hour or two, because I think there was like a 4 hour window where Nails was going really hard in the builder, making the best Dragon Cheer team to bring to the tournament. And um
Yes, I remember this because I heard about the bug. I think I was as I was like getting ready to take off, and then I landed, and they were like, "No, we're just gonna ban it." And it was like the whole like building cycle that happened in the time I was sleeping in the air. And then the move was already dead.
man,
He posted it. He posted the team on Twitter.
that's true.
Y'all
And,
can
and
check
then
it out
he was like, "Wait, no, no,
if you
no, no."
want to. And so the way they announced it too was also very funny because it was they worded it in a very confusing way. They said on Twitter that it is banned from championship events because stop function is intended. And I guess maybe I was the only person to actually open up the article because who would ever do that, right? And it just says that it is not usable in official competitions. Sorry, it will be usable in ranked battles and official competitions. And official competitions refers to battle stadium tournaments like Blueberry Prologue and ranked battles, which is a little redundant, but also very strange that that VGC is not considered an official competition. That Portland was not an official tournament. Yeah, so I posted on Twitter like clarifying like, wait, is VGC an official tournament? And they're like, yeah, like no, we worded it correctly. It's not going to be legal at Portland, which is also pretty. I'm sure you have it pulled up. It's also worded in a confusing way. And so they had a third reply that was saying explicitly, yes, it was banned because no one had any idea what was going on at that point.
Yeah, it was honestly it was worded pretty poorly. And so I'm glad that you and other people were like, pushing it like, hey, like Portland is literally days away, am I bringing my Dragon Cheer team or not? Give it to me straight. And I will admit my tweet about it was baked. I was not bringing a Dragon Cheer team, but there were people like
Wow.
Gary Chan that did actually have apparently Dragon Cheer teams. Leave it to Gary. Not surprised Gary's the one running Dragon Cheer, but yeah, there were
Well,
probably some
the
people.
funny thing to me about like Gary being on it was Gary swapped to a team with Clear Smog Amoonguss, just like a pretty normal Cress Ursaluna Amoonguss team. I did not have a very good matchup against what he actually ran, and if he'd been on fact, maybe I was just gonna lose to Gary anyway. But it's so
Yeah, yeah.
funny that I lost to him because he had to swap his team.
I mean, for somebody who did have to swap off like that, I think Gary did pretty all right for himself. We'll probably end up looking at Gary's team later. He had a pretty solid run in day two, and a honestly pretty boring team as far as Gary goes. So yeah, we'll get to that. Is there
You're
anything
saying
else?
Gary would go 6-3 with Dragon Cheer? I feel like he would have gone fucking day 2, no? With his Alolan Executor?
I think he could have done it. Gary's teams are not easy to understand, and so I think that has I think that has legitimate strength in the current scene we have going. Anyways,
You
yeah,
mentioned moves that have been banned before. The other time that, other than Skydrop, that I can remember is first regional of 2018. The new games came out,
Curse.
and they banned like a bunch of moves that caused the game to crash as well, including I think Curse was a
Yeah.
really big one because people were using Curse Snorlax. All the other moves were like not super relevant, like String Shot and stuff. But though, like Skydrop and Curse and whatnot caused the game to literally crash. This is just like the game isn't working as intended, which was fine. That's always how it's been. We've always just kind of played with the mechanics that they've been given, and so it is really strange that they have finally decided to ban it. This is a third different move that or interaction that they've significantly patched right after the Order Up interaction to Protect and the Wheezing interaction with Photosynthesis. And so it's really weird that this is the time that they finally decided to ban it temporarily until the move gets fixed. Especially given that Order Up was incorrect for like a whole 8 months. Surely they noticed that ahead of time. We saying I kind of understand it. They didn't notice until you and Animus were on stream with it. But Order Up literally like got second at a regional in January, and they didn't even fix it for
before Charlotte regionals last year.
It was
like
fixed
Order Up thing didn't.
quickish.
It was early.
Yeah. It didn't last for months.
Was it?
But
It was like 3 months at least.
I thought maybe more like 2. I don't know exactly though. The timeline not very important. What I wanted to say is that Chuppa and I are bug abusers. That is canon, unfortunately. And both of us were gonna, as soon as we heard the Dragon Cheer news, we were gonna build the most broken bug abusing team you could ever see. But unfortunately, they had to hold us back.
Well, I think the thing with Dragon Cheer is it would have been an interesting move if it didn't get patched, because okay, it's like nearly unusable as its current state, but like if it has the bugged effect, like I would think it would be at least kind of interesting.
Yes, I agree. I think that that's the one thing that could make me even consider trying the move, and even then, it's still not something I want to like spend time testing. And if they're gonna reduce it back to the state that we thought it was originally, yeah, no, I'm not wasting any time on this move. Anything else to say about Dragon Cheer before we move on talking about Japan circuit? It's an interesting thing, and I don't know. I mean, patches don't come too quickly, so I don't know if they actually stated anywhere. It just says like until further notice, right? Yeah. So.
I think they said like late January. Like I think we already know that there's kind of like a stability and other random fixes patch coming, and I think they've said it's supposed to be later this month. And the announcement that we got before Portland was just like, hey, we know there's something wrong with Dragon Cheer.
Mm-hmm.
We're just going to be rolling the fix for that into this existing patch that's already coming down the line.
We have that one patch that is going to give us the epilogue, right? I think we have an epilogue coming for the DLC story. I could see it being included in that. And somebody else mentioned in the chat, by the way, February 27th, 2023 is when Order Up was fixed. So closer like 2 months. And I say that, and of course, Adi just leaves instantly. He's just so ashamed for trying to spread misinformation by saying Order Up was bugged for 8 months or whatever. So embarrassed that he couldn't even stick around. Let me just open up Discord and check on him, but yeah, Adi might be back in a sec. I'll just tag him. Just say, Adi, you are gone. Cool. We can move on though. I honestly don't think we even need him. Let's go ahead and talk about Japan. Okay. So yeah, this is like hot off the press. And yeah, we learned that Japan's world qualifying they got a lot of circuit info today. And yeah, it's literally like 40 minutes ago, just before the show. I saw this and we get to include it. It's cool. So the main things that you need to know, it says here players can only use one cart. I don't know if that's new or not. That might be actually.
It is new.
That's new. That's new.
So you used to be able to play 2 carts in the GCs. I don't know if that still works for us, but yeah, they can't do that anymore. Mm-hmm. It would take the higher score for whichever of the 2 carts you played on.
Okay, Randy is confirming that's new.
That's a good change.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I like it at least. It was like, yeah, just sweating 2 carts was just such a workload. And then this next one is pretty interesting. Preliminary is Regulation F. JCS is Reg G, and this is kind of implying that Reg G might be something different as opposed to just a continuation of Regulation F. This might not be the craziest of news, but year by year we've seen things just very different. And so like 2022 we played the same format from January until Worlds. We played the same format for several of the GCs as we did at NAIC, but then not Worlds. So this doesn't exactly tell us what the Worlds format is, but we do know that Regulation G very likely is not going to be the same as Regulation F. There might be some type of change. Everything else is just going to be speculation, though. They're banning all legendaries, guys. So a lot to look forward to. Yeah.
I mean, it is interesting though because there was like just talk, or I mean, I personally was talking about this with Alex before, but we don't have any obvious extensions of format because previously going into Reg DEF, there were clearly like home dropped and then DLC 1 and DLC 2. And so for the next format, we don't really know exactly what it's going to be. I mean, we can speculate about what they've done in the past. We could say that maybe there's going to be another home drop of new Pokemon, but like ultimately, it just means that there is going to be a different format in some way or another, and that is interesting at least.
Several chat
It's
members.
ominous.
Yes, I agree with ominous. Several chat
Yes.
members are saying single restricted, and my heart rate is going up a little bit. I'm just like, please no, not the single restricted.
Those were
how
awful.
likely it is that they do like single restricted in the spring and then like double restricted for Worlds again, like because we have to play Worlds as the first event of a new format, and that's a thing that we're doing now.
Yeah, I guess that's just something I do now.
I guess it's not even that I'm like shocked about this, but it's just like kind of disappointing to hear like, yep, that's when Regulation G is going to happen. And like you said, like if there's nothing obvious, I think the obvious thing is probably the restricted.
Somebody did say
so much.
I don't think we're going to see the return to this, but I want to ask for your guys' quick take on it. Somebody says pray for top 10 usage ban like Series 2 Gen 8. I don't know if that was actually Series 2. It was like Series 6, right?
Yeah, Series 6, I think.
But yeah, I know Adi might have a different take than everybody else. I'll leave him for last. So, Chuppa, what do you think of the top 10 ban?
You want to read out the top 10 Pokemon first?
Sure. What are the top 10
We talked
mons?
about this in Japan, but the top 10 are surely very different now. Yeah, sure. Top 10 ban. I'm all for it.
Okay. ESM, what do you think?
It's top 10, but it's top 10 in both singles and doubles, right? That was what it was.
That was what
time.
it was.
Mm-hmm.
I think. Well, okay. My take is that it would be an interesting mix-up format because I just think it would be more fun to play something where we would see a bunch of Pokemon that we would normally never see. Which was what series, like whatever 4, 6, or whatever it was back then.
6.
But I do think that there are certain Pokemon with that won't get banned that are definitely going to be more troublesome. Like the obvious ones that come to mind are Spam and Dondozo. So.
Oh, are you thinking about the big fish? Yeah, I was thinking about the big fish.
Dondozo. It's not even that unlikely that like a Moongus would have to leave in a top 10 right now, like especially if we give the format some time, and like Moongus oftentimes kind of settles around that top 10 spot.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really want to play a format with Dondozo if a Moongus isn't in the game.
I love Randy's comments always, but Randy said hand sandbagging so that I can enter the mid-rose league is so fire. Oh man. Oh yeah, I guess I should ask Adi for his take. Fine, go ahead, Adi.
Yeah, as the best Series 6 player in the entire world, and the best, and just the guy who apparently does well at all these Mickey formats. I think that they had a big problem with how they did it last time. I think that they could do this really, really well, but it has to be more methodical than just ban the top 10 in singles and doubles. That was just it was kind of silly, and I'm sure they can do better than that. I think that one thing they did especially poorly when they did Series 6 was they took the top 10 in Battle Stadium usage after the first month of Series 5. And that was before players, or rather like that includes the entire month of play, right? Which means that includes the first week of play when no one knew what was good. And also the week after Players' Cup had finished, where everyone did know it was good. I don't even think Players' Cup had actually officially aired at the time. That was, of course, the defining tournament of Series 5. And so they didn't like, it wasn't even a good ban list because it didn't actually have a top 10 Pokemon. The metagame changed very quickly. That's how it goes when you have a new format. This metagame is going to change very quickly as well. Imagine if they took the top 10 after this tournament. It would be very different than what is probably going to be the top 10 2 months from now, right? And so that is one thing that they really, really have to do if they're going to try to do something like that, is wait until we actually have usage stats, right? And not just from the very initial impressions of the format. That being said, I think that it would actually be really fun. I think that a lot of archetypes that are currently a little under the radar or are not especially doing well but have a lot of potential are going to be viable. For example, Dondozo Tatsugiri, of course, did do quite well, but will probably be legal Archaludon Rain. I'm looking at Archaludon right now in the 11th slot, and it's probably going to drop because it did not do well at Portland. That is another team that is going to be very strong without the top 10 Pokemon. Spam is almost entirely legal, although Indeedee is actually pushing up to the top 10, which should make it much more interesting. Right, we have Whimsicott instead of Tornadus as a Tailwind setter, which is interesting. Iron Hands, I think generally Iron Hands might not be okay because Iron Hands does get a little silly without Flutter Mane in the format. But I think there's a lot of I think there's just a lot of cool stuff. Torkoal Walking Wake, right, is another cool archetype. Like, there's a lot of cool stuff that you can do without the top 10 mons. And in this format especially, I think the combination of Flutter Mane and Urshifu and those guys are just so oppressive that it would actually be really fun to play a format without those guys, is all I'm going to say.
Yeah, there's parts that I can agree with, parts that I don't know if it would work exactly. Banning the top 10 isn't, it's not just that such a simple thing in doubles where, we have a mix of supporters and offensive Pokemon in the top 10. Some of those things are very important for keeping other things in check, like, Hands, Flutter is a very important relationship for the game to have, at least a little bit. Yeah, there are talks like, you could expand it to top 20. You could also make it like a usage percentage one instead of like numbers, like, actually just copy Smogon or whatever. I think their number's like 4% something. Why? I don't even know why they chose. Why did they choose that number? I don't actually know.
I believe 4.52 is that you have a 50% chance to see it one in every 10 games or something like that. It's like that's what the stat is supposed to be.
Okay.
That's pretty arbitrary.
Yeah, it's a little strange, but I mean, like they've ran with a number forever that it doesn't matter at this point. That's just like how they do things. I'm just curious because it was just such a specific number. Okay.
Yeah, it sounds arbitrary, but
formats is that there's always just there's some weird holdovers in terms of power. Like, let's say Iron Hands in a lower power level format is just obviously that's not going to feel right. I think Iron Hands recently hit UU, and I think they hit it with a quick ban, which is that's probably what Iron Hands would deserve in a format like this too.
Yeah.
I don't know. It would be interesting, and I just hate all the restricted formats, so I might rather roll the dice with a top 10 or a usage based ban. But I don't know, there's just always things that feel like they float to the top a little bit more than they should. I don't know, Audie's the Series 6 expert here, but should Urshifu Dark be legal in a format like that? I don't really know.
So I also don't know if they are able to ban Urshifu Water without banning Urshifu Dark, or in similar way ban Ogerpon, one of the Ogerpon forms without the other Ogerpon forms. Just based on the way that they do Battle Stadium restrictions.
Yeah, so it's usually Pokedex number, and so I feel like all forms would go.
Oh, yeah, and then there's kind of just lazy lazy is the wrong word, but just based on the way they group it, there's just going to be aspects like that lead to kind of wrong or incomplete bans. I don't know, you don't really need to ban Teal Mask Ogerpon, and you also don't need to ban
okay buddy
and mon and singles. Hey man, I have to advocate for myself here.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so I think one of the things that's good about a format like this is not necessarily just about the competitive integrity of this kind of format, how you ban the mons, but what I would enjoy about a format like this is just that basically we're getting a new dex with the most powerful Pokemon removed, so we just get to play with new tools. And so Series 6 was notable just because it was the only format all year that we played with some of these Pokemon that are just a cut below the rest and can be powerful but just weren't that good. I think Porygon Z was the most notable example where it never really saw any usage outside of that specific format, but it was one of the best Pokemon in that format. And so being able to use new archetypes or that are just slightly outclassed right now is just something that would be more interesting. So just from a for fun perspective, I would want that kind of format just because I'm a for fun player.
I mean, yeah, you're the guy that has you had 5 1-ups in day 2, so the only Como player, the only T-Tar player, the only Primarina player, the only Magmar player, yeah, and then he had a Rillaboom, because can't only use your favorites.
I will say I'm looking at the singles list from Regulation E. A lot of the bans from that would probably make the format better. Blood Moon would get banned. Bulldengo would get banned when it otherwise wouldn't. Tinglu would get banned, Chi would get
No,
banned. I'm like, yeah, actually,
Tinglu! Why? Don't take my Tinglu!
Tinglu getting banned might be a bad thing if Psy spam is still fully legal, but
We got T-Tar instead.
true.
Rafa's asking how
And then
ESM
T-Tar
would
and Iron
survive.
Hands, right?
Rafa's asking how ESM would survive in a format with no Rillaboom. Anyways, okay, so let's wrap up the Japan circuit really quick. There's a couple more things that I want to mention about it that we do know, and how it's going to apply for the rest of the year. So they have these dates, which I'm just going to jump over to my notes here because I don't have everything else memorized, but they have those dates. I know that the first one is the same weekend as Knoxville, so that's going to make it a bit hard for people attending that regional. No conflict with me here, so I'll be able to play that one. But if anybody's attending that one, that's going to be unfortunate. You're either playing way too much Pokemon in a weekend, or yeah, I guess this actually ties in pretty well to a later point, which is the BFL was changed to 3, and it was 2 last year. I can't remember how many were actually being run. They showed
there was 4 last year.
I think it was just 3.
Oh, was
I
it
think
3?
yeah.
And there's
okay.
3 dates here. So yeah, 3 weekends, 3 BFLs. You can get points in all of them, which man, I should pull up the payout for table. Let me go to my DMs because that was sent to me.
It's like considerable, right? It's like 200 for
It
first.
is. That's why I'm
160 for first, I believe.
That's why I wanted to pull it up, is because this is no laughing matter. There's 160 points for first, and I do, if I remember correctly, they pull out a lot of the Asian countries like from the standings. So, and are you? I can't remember. Am I competing with Italians and Europeans now, or no? I can't remember. I am.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
You are.
All CP earning regions are competing with each other as opposed to being divided. I think they only divided for Players Cup, huh? Otherwise,
Yes.
like in the past years when we had what did we used to call these things? ICs, International Challenges. Yeah, when we had those, it was like 50 points for first, and I think you were still competing with the globe minus Asia, and yeah. Hey, thank you for the sub, Joe. Wait, no, Joe. Oh, wait, Joe gifted a sub. I was like, what? Is it Joe? Is it not? Okay. So yeah, that's a lot of points on the line. Hey, thank you, Joe, for the congrats for me and Chuppa. Yeah, a lot of points. Best finish limit of 3, which means these are serious tournaments worth considering and taking seriously. So yeah.
Hold on. Last year the BFL on these was 2. Did they say any? Like, we don't know if there's a BFL of 3 for this year, do we?
The image I have here, Chuppa, on screen, I didn't link it in our doc, but it's on stream.
Let me pull up the stream again.
Trailer sent me this image. Who got it from Chua? Who I mean, you could just go to the website for Pokemon.
Really, it's already been updated for the current year.
It says BFL 3.
Oh God.
Hey, Professor Fluffy, thank you so much for the sub.
I guess. Yeah, I will just come out and say it. Like, I do not like that these give so many points. I guess, like, I think I like that they give points towards Worlds invites, and this year, like, the day 2, sorry, not day 2, day 1, and it's a trip to Hawaii or whatever. They just kind of add so many points to, like, different stipend races that I don't think there should not be this many points on the line for best of 1 Pokemon with closed sheet. There just shouldn't be.
Yeah, it is a lot of points. And honestly, I mean, that's what Hub Takes is for. It's for giving your takes. I don't love it either. The GC are divided into age divisions this year. Oh, that's actually a nice change that they're divided by age division. Do the...
Oh, cool.
Was it always? I thought it was always divided by age.
Yeah, I thought that's how it always was.
Maybe they didn't do it in the first year of Scarlet and Violet. But I did remember in the past. Yeah. Also,
I'm going to advocate for the opposite of what Chuppa just said, because I think
let's go. Give us the takes.
No, yeah. For like a lot of people who like, okay, so like I just recently graduated college, and while I was still in college, I was like going to some events, but like I could only make like 1 or 2 regionals a year, so it was never feasible for me to chase an invite because like I would really have to just ball at one event that I'm going to, and then now with GCs and like you could mix in some locals and then like go to 1 or 2 regionals, and then if you really try your hardest on a GC and you go for like top 10, and that's like really significant points, like you can actually realistically get an invite there. And so it just like the thing I don't like about like VGC sometimes is that like you are kind of gated by like your financial situation and stuff, and some people who can't travel can't always make worlds, so it does give you more avenues to do that. And so yeah, it's not like the ideal online format because you like you said it's best of one Pokemon and stuff, and it does contribute to stipend races and that kind of stuff, but I think overall it's more of a positive that it gives you like it's a more realistic avenue to approach like getting an invite for people who cannot go to every single event.
And
I
Joe,
mean, that is why I explicitly said I would like stuff like this to contribute to Worlds invites, but like not
Oh, right, sure.
stipend races or anything. Which is
Yeah.
like we don't have any events like that that contribute to one thing but not another. Maybe that's just like not really something that they're looking to do. But like I don't know, I feel that this shouldn't really compete to those races the same way like PC with 4 people shouldn't contribute to those races. It's just like it's not something that's perfectly balanced the way it is.
No,
Yeah,
okay,
in fact,
yeah, I agree.
I would argue that the stipend race is way more scuffed because of the way that locals work, where you can have 6 mid-seasons and 6 premier challenges in your stipend period, and that's going to mess up. Like if you win a GC, good, congrats, that's impressive. Like you probably do deserve a stipend for doing that. That's like, or at least you deserve to be well on your way to a stipend for doing that. That's an impressive accomplishment. Winning 3 mid-season showdowns is not as impressive if you live in Seattle. Sorry, guys.
Wow.
Like,
Wow.
you have 8 mid-seasons in February. You're probably Alex. You're probably going to get a stipend without going to EUIC.
I think we only have 6 in February. Come on, like just be reasonable.
Okay.
Be reasonable.
And I'm like, obviously, like I'm glad that it's I'm glad that again, okay, for me, again, personally, I was in the same boat as Michael for a while. I started playing VGC in 2015. I never got to go to an event because I lived in Minnesota and there were no regionals anywhere nearby except for Madison. That was always during finals weekend. So I didn't go to an event until 2017, 2 years later, right? I would have loved for things like Players Cup to have existed, for me to have a chance to compete at the highest level for GCs. I played all the online competitions on all like the 4 fun events. That was how I got into VGC, was playing in these type of events. So I love that they exist, and really, I think that if players do well in these and they can't go to events normally, but they see themselves get, I got top 8, top 16 in one of these GCs. All of a sudden now they might say, I have a chance of getting my Worlds invite. I'm going to grind these out. I'm going to go to NAIC. I'm going to go to 2 regionals, and I can do this. And I feel like it's worth going to events, right? So it's a way to get people into the game, especially if they want to prove themselves before going to these major events. And then also, again, for me, I don't have locals. I have to drive 3 hours to my closest local. I will have access to exactly 6 mid-seasons this year. Like, it sucks. I would probably not make Worlds without access to these GCs, realistically. And so it is very important for players like me to have access to GCs as well. If you want to chase a Worlds invite without going to 6, 7 regionals, internats, multiple internats potentially, and also driving crazy distances for locals. It really, really does help a lot of people, and I think it is just generally good for the game.
I do want to jump all the way back to Joe's take, which was kind of in line with what ESM was saying, but it's cool to reward different Pokemon skill sets. It's just kind of like you can do some funny stuff in GCs, and it does like open up opportunities to run some very funny stuff. Definitely good content creation. I can see why Joe's defending it. Anyways.
I think this is something that's like relatively unexplored, because I do think most people who are competing like at regional plus events, it's like they do want to focus mostly on best of 3 Pokemon stuff. But I do think like something that's underexplored is like, optimizing more for like a best of 1 experience. And like, I mean, this is more so done in like the Japanese circuit, where a lot of their actual events are done in best of 1, which, we can have our own take about how that's like bad or good or whatever. But they come up with way crazier teams with way crazier strategies, and try to actually play towards the format instead of just saying like, okay, this is just a scuffed format and blah blah whatever. But it does like make a very different experience in team building and playing. So it's interesting.
Let's break down
It's definitely really different, and I like that it's something that's like very easy for Pokemon to host as well. There's really not very much effort that goes into doing this on their end. There's a reason that there's 3 of these like month after month after month. Like
Yeah.
there are definitely positives to GCs. I've just always been a hater of this format because it is so stressful.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's very different. I mean, it's just entirely different, especially now that we have open sheet. But let me wrap up the final bit of details here on these tournaments upcoming for how it's going to relate to Japan. First off, I know this is just kind of like what Trailer was telling me is going on in like Japan Twitter, is that they're freaking out because it's a lot earlier than years past. This is what was that first date? I gotta go back and check, but it's February 2nd. That is coming up. So that's pretty crazy. And then they're already working towards their nationals, which they have 150 qualify per tournament. And then I don't know if people can steal spots from each other. I imagine if you're already qualified, it might not give you another spot, and so it'll probably just move on to the next person. So that'll get them to a 450 person tournament that is going to play once more online, but in their own separate section, I believe, not paired with people from around the world. And that will play down to 64, and those 64 move on to the live stage. And that, I think, is how it worked last year and how it should be working again this year. And yeah, there's a lot of implications for Japan, a lot of stuff that's going to be, for us as well. We've already mentioned there's a lot of championship points there, but it is a little less than a month away. Crazy to think. So I guess it's still going to be Regulation F. If you got Charlotte and Knoxville coming up, think about those. Best of 3 open team sheet teams that you got to bring to those tournaments. Well, me and ESM, we got nothing until Vancouver. We're gonna be cooking up the stupidest, the dumbest, the cheesiest. Find me on the best of 1 ladder. Fight me there.
ESM is pumped for these because he can just use his regionals teams at them, and nobody is going to.
Dude, he can use them in. He can close team sheet people in open sheet. Like at least 2 people asked him what Liquid Voice does this weekend.
No, honestly though, I feel my teams are like so fragile in open team sheet because they need in closed team sheet because they need all this information, and then you just it just falls apart if you don't know what their options are. I think the real strong stuff in like best of 1 is like Dozo and like Mouse Ape, where they can have like 2 really strong viable sets that can just like bulldoze you if you make 1 turn wrong, like on turn 1. So.
Oh, Bulldoze Dozo? Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like really good because the Dozo goes fast and then you go slow. Yeah, it's really...
Oh, that's crazy, honestly.
Yeah.
Wait, I think he's cooking.
I mean, we're going to talk about the San Antonio team soon. I know Randy didn't get to, but he...
let me pull up San Antonio. Hold on.
I do want to do one more thing about GCs. Is that there was a great article from this is Players Cup 4 qualifying, but Viva Blade, who mostly plays in the Australian circuit despite being Japanese, wrote a really good article about how he built his team for this and how he just had to approach team building very, very differently for a format that is best of 1 closed team sheet as compared to what we were more used to. And this is when we were doing best of 3 closed team sheet, but still, I think it's a really good article. I'm going to link it in chat if you want to read it, because I do think that if you want to do really well in these, if you really want to maximize your performance in these, considering how to build a good team, not a gimmicky team, that still takes advantage of the best of 1 closed team sheet format is really valuable. And this is a great article that shows how to do that.
Yeah, I don't think I've actually checked this one out. It's a good shout. I might have to look at that later. All right, now let's go ahead and move on to looking at the San Antonio teams that Adi wanted us to check out. Adi, what did you want us to go back for San Antonio for? Was there something that in particular?
I was saying we were talking about teams that might be good at GCs, and I looked at Randy's team with the Terra Ghost, Choice Band, and Dozo And I was like, damn, yeah, I could run that in a GC. That would slap.
All right. Well, let's start with the Portland teams, and maybe we'll go back and revisit San Antonio.
Sorry, I meant Portland. He used it as Portland, not as San Antonio. My bad.
No, that was what I was ribbing you for.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So yeah, I guess we could talk about Portland. This guy won it. This team, cringe. Like just stupid, boring stuff.
Cringe, boring.
Yeah.
Six of the top 9 usage Pokemon. Can't believe it. What happened to
9?
What happened to the old Alex?
I've never seen Alex so defeated by the format.
Honestly,
what happened to the guy who brought Worthworm and Gothitelle and Wheezing?
Yeah, no, he used to be paced. I think I lost fans with this win, if I'm being honest. I know ESM.
Aren't you glad that we talked you out of using Worthworm?
What's that?
Aren't you glad that like your friends helped talk you out of using Earthworm?
Honestly, I
mean,
mean,
would have been instead of Raging Bolt.
Dude, Raging Bolt, it was still the like least used Pokemon on the team, but on stream it went off. Apparently, it was really good against you and against Joe. Not matchups that I was like super expecting to get a lot of value out of Bolt, but it is the one thing that's probably the coolest part about having Bolt on the squad is like I'm the first person to get a dub with the new guy, the new long neck guy. I also really do like its design. It's probably one of my favorite Pokemon to come out of the new DLC or whatever, just like aesthetics wise, and
I agree.
as a Pokemon fan.
Definitely.
The cloud, how it like whips around and like turns into this like kind of tail on its head or something. Like I don't know, it's cool. It's got some cool animations.
I don't understand the Bolt haters. It is such a cool design.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I like both Bolt and Gouging Fire.
I keep clicking on the Pokepaste link, expecting it to make its picture bigger, and it's not going to. Here, this is what you guys get. I zoom in. Honestly, the cloud around its head is like almost reminiscent of like Dynamax. I wonder if this is like a design they had back then. There are definitely like designs that like were probably intended for or like scrapped but then reworked later. Like they that's definitely got to be something they have. Anyways, may I ask where the EV spreads are? They don't do EV spreads on Cut Explorer, and yeah, I'm probably going to do a team report with Adi eventually. I should mention that. So
if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, you gotta go do it. You gotta do it right now.
Go subscribe right now.
hit that notification bell, or else you don't want to miss Alex's team report.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, and so anyways, I guess I should talk about the team really quick before moving on. The one thing that's really cool to me is, we were joking and teasing, like, Alex has used Wheezing, Alex used Worm and blah and blah. I definitely built like a boring team here, but it did actually end up having 2 top 4 appearances. Colin's team, while he had a different Raging Bolt because that was just the set he was practicing with and before leading up to the tournament. These are still the same team. Colin was using my team, and I've never had like somebody else have such a strong finish with my team. The closest was like Justin Burns and I both getting top 8 at Secaucus, but Burns
and Justin Burns and I getting top 8 at Vancouver.
That's true. But I like that was like a much more collaborative effort. No offense, Colin. Colin kind of just hopped in. Yeah. And the team there's like stuff that like did well in limitless tournaments very similar to this. It's not exactly how I came to the 6. I'll explain that in the team report, but I mostly just got so tired of Landorus Incarnate, which I don't even think did well at the tournament. Like the Pokemon where is this guy?
It's severely underperformed.
Got 2 top 8s. Okay, still 2 top 8s, 1 16 32. Maybe 5 in day 2 out of how many did we have? Like 45?
It was 9th in usage. It was 119 uses, and it had 5 in day 2.
I think I'm
saying
not a great conversion. Yeah, the conversion is 5/27. That's bad.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really bad.
I'm not a big numbers guy, but 5 and 27 does sound pretty bad. I hate that Pokemon because it makes building anything defensive impossible. You can't defensively Terra to deal with this Pokemon. It kind of just does too much damage. The other thing that like you would think might
Terrabug?
be good into Terrabug. Shut up about Terrabug. I've heard enough Terrabug. um, and the other thing about Lando Eye is that you would think it being a special attacker, Assault Vest would be good into it, but all of the good Assault Vest Pokemon are just weak to its attacks. Rillaboom doesn't want to take a Sludge Bomb. Entei or Incineroar don't like Earth Power. Iron Hands doesn't like Earth Power. I can't think of... King Gambit is another Assault Vest user that...
Did you say Iron Hands? Is that a good Pokemon now?
No, it's not a good Pokemon. Sorry, my bad.
Oh.
I should have mentioned Primarina. Primarina is another Assault Vest Pokemon that would be weak to its Sludge Bomb. Anyways, the Pokemon just choose through teams, and it's not too difficult to support. Obviously, people came prepared for the Pokemon, and it didn't do that well, but there was just things like Redirection and Fake Out that made Landorus very annoying for me, and I was just like, we're gonna kill this Pokemon. We're gonna run Shenpao D-Knight. Both of them, like, you know, are threatening Okos on it, and forcing it to Terra is good. Hitting it first is good. And lastly, you would think Assault Vest is a good item into it. The better item is just Focus Sash. Chien-Pao is a very good Pokemon when it comes to damage trades. It took me over a year of Scarlet and Violet to learn that. I know that, like, you know, Chuppa, who's used Chien-Pao at several tournaments, has probably known this for a while now, but this Pokemon is the king of, like, just damage trades. It's at the top of the speed chain with a priority move and a very high attack stat. So, you know, slap a Focus Sash on it, and it's going to 1v1 very well.
Yep, that's a good way to describe Chien-Pao. It is, like, more or less the best Pokemon at that in the game. It also, like, hardly relies on its Terra unless you, like, point normal moves at it, like Fake Out and Extreme Speed. Chien-Pao's Terra, like, is really irrelevant. Yeah, that's a good way to describe it.
Yeah, it got good coverage too. And so yeah, it's just a overall very strong Pokemon. Ice is a good offensive typing, so yeah. With that though, the rest of the guys, you know, I just got like a Fire Water Grass core with just contained in 2 Pokemon, Entei, Ogerpon Water, Fluttermane, just being a good Pokemon. I was booster special attack, and that's probably all I really want to say about it before like going like into like more team reporty type stuff. So yeah.
Do you want to say anything about Entei? Because that's also a new Pokemon.
It is it's a new guy, and I think that what I liked about Entei, because on original versions of this, I was trying out like Incin and Amoonguss instead of Ogerpon and Entei. What I like about Entei is, you know, Inner Focus making it Fake Out immune means that your Assault Vest user is not losing any turns to Fake Out. There's a good number of Fake Out Pokemon, and, you know, all my team is either running Protect or Inner Focus. And so the team is very respective of Fake Out, stealing turns from you. And yeah, I just never have to deal with that. And so, you know, that's something that does set Entei apart from other Assault Vest Pokemon, is just Inner Focus. I mean, we've seen this on Riley and, you know, the team that Joe is running now with the Inner Focus Dragonite. That's a similar concept, but Entei can now do it too, and lets my Dragonite be choice banded. And then yeah, Raging Bolt was definitely just Mon 6, but it performed. Chuppa, do you want to talk about your team at all?
Yeah, sure. So I had not like really thought about using Dozo until last weekend. I see Alamak get second in, I don't remember what tour it was, just
a Limitless tournament.
Trainer School, I think. Yeah, with Dozo. And initially I'm thinking, like, what's going on with this? Don't know how good it is. I watched some replays and I'm still not like totally getting what's going on. And then Carson reaches out to Alamak, who's like very receptive to working with us. We end up, you know, doing some really hard work on the team, figuring out what needs to change about it, because there was kind of just a hole in the metagame for Dozo right now. It had been too long since it was doing well. This was the best built Dozo team that I think we've seen since Lexar at EUIC. Is like, I think that's the answer I'm going to give. This is the best Dozo team since EUIC. And being aware of that and being the best Dozo player, I really want to take advantage of that for this weekend, kind of take advantage of Dozo techs being like potentially at the lowest they've ever been right now, and just put together a good Dozo team. Chen Pao Dragonite, from having worked with you, Alex, on your stuff a little bit, I knew how strong it was and how like natural of a fit for my playstyle those two were. And then Glamore and Ogerpon filling like some more specific holes, really dominating certain matchups and kind of just like setting the stage for a Dozo to win the game. It was just a team that came together in a really satisfying way.
Yeah, I want to ask a couple of questions. One, what about the metagame just felt like was so vulnerable to Dozo? Why did it feel like it was Dozo's time? Was it just the length of time since its last finish, or was there something about the DLC? What was it?
I think Glamora getting Meteor Beam is a pretty big one because it lets Glamora, like, I think before Meteor Beam, I would have just said like Glamora is kind of just doing like Citrus or AV or Focus Sash, and it's like how much damage it's just going to do. It's like not anything above 90 power. It's respectable damage, but it's nothing that crazy. Meteor Beam lets Glamora take a huge chunk out of things. There's a ton of Pokemon, like Landorus Eye is a good example of something where it's like, sure, maybe it'll like waste the Sludge Bomb into Ogerpon, and then or just removes it with one Meteor Beam, or even like as I did against Colin, you can fail a Meteor Beam into a Protect or miss a Meteor Beam, and you still got a Glamora like that's just going to swing with +1 Sludge Bomb every turn it's on the field at that point. It was just a really big buff to the Pokemon. Makes it, I'm trying to think about how to describe it, but just like lets it do something beyond the poison stall stuff, which I really didn't get so much use out of. So it's like kind of good to have this chunky rock type move. Then beyond that, like, I don't know. I still couldn't say that I have like great insight into like how exactly Alamak came up with Covert Cloak Ogerpon, because most of the stuff on the team is his idea.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also just like a really unique fit into this Incineroar meta. I think a lot of people weren't really like kind of prepared for this Covert Cloak Defiant combination where if you just give Ogerpon a boost at the wrong time, it can kind of run through teams on its own.
How good was the cloak in your experience?
There were definitely people that just like hit Fake Out or
Oh
even
no!
like I'm not sure if my opponent realized
Oh,
like the
no.
Icy Wind was not gonna work against it. It's a cute little item.
That is funny. That is funny. Yeah, and like for people, for keen listeners, you'll know that like Icy Wind will not drop its speed and thus not activate Defiant, right? So it's I guess there's pros and cons, but probably mostly pro because the speed drop is usually gonna set up something like a follow-up KO. If it's an Icy Wind from a Speed Booster Flutter, and then the Darker Shifu's hitting you with a Wicked Blow, you're out of the game. But instead, you're just tanking that Icy Wind, shrugging it off, and saying, "Here comes an Ivy Cudgel, here comes a Superpower, or whatever you need to do." And that's some really cool thing that you can do with the Ogerpon. Also, the Terra giving you a speed boost. Did that end up paying off big at all?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, there was like I know against I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce his name, Zhejiang. He was hitting me with this really scary like Scarf Urshifu and Chen Pao lead, and it's like with the way my I was just able to snipe the Urshifu before it did anything, and that was really, really great for me. If I wanted to invest Terra, it is like high investment Terra. It's very often that with this team you want to be saving your Terra for something else. You have to be very careful with that. But sometimes like Ogerpon, if you use the Terra at the right moment, it is just going to get a kill.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. This speed boost on is really interesting. But at the same time, it's like I kind of started to realize how powerful the mask items are. Just like 1.2 boost on all of your attacks is just like a great use of your item slot with Ogerpon. I have to settle for Covert Cloak, but the Ivy Cudgels aren't actually that strong with Grass Ogerpon.
That's fair.
So that's the trade-off for having like such a powerful like speed boost off of the Terra.
I don't think I would be ready, like with my internal calcs, to switch to a non mask Ogerpon, and just being like, oh, I'm just suddenly hitting for 20% less. That feels so strange.
Going back to Glamora, I have the lab mouse page pulled up. It is actually the highest win rate Pokemon with above 3% usage. And that is not, that obviously a lot of that is you in your group that I think, 56% of them, it looks like, are using Ogerpon, Pow, Knight, Tretsugiri, Dozo with it. But still, like, overall, it is one of the most successful Pokemon. I was talking it up. I know for a while, I know Zomog did really well with it in an online tour as well. And so, and honestly, like, when I think about, I can't speak for your experience, but when I think about Pokemon that are well positioned into a metagame that is so heavily, Pow Knight is so heavily used, Glamora is actually the Pokemon that comes to me the most, because that is the Pokemon that, as someone who used Pow Knight as well, that is the Pokemon that I think was the scariest. It threatens your Mon so much, and it's faster than the Entei, it's faster than the Dragonite. It hits everything so hard. You can't really OHKO it very easily. And if you ever hit it with a physical attack, your Chien-Pao doesn't have a Focus Sash anymore. And so that is a guy that that I think is really well positioned right now. And I think Dozo is the Pokemon that takes best advantage of.
I actually I don't know. I think Lamore is solid and all, but I think by the time I was playing against Alex in finals, it felt like he kind of had Glamora figured out. Dragonite in the back and like Flutter Pow in the front made it so Toxic Debris was like, it's a little annoying for the Bolt in the back if it goes up, but that's not like, you can't really like trade a Glamora to a double up and say like, oh boy, I got Toxic Debris. I'm so good at the video game. That's not, that trade didn't work out for you. I don't know. There's still a lot of teams that have like pretty good play around Toxic Debris. It can really sweep some matchups. Some teams have to be so careful of it, but I don't know. I think with Dragonite like going up probably in usage after this tour, and that being like a really solid bond that's just immune to Toxic Debris and is going to slot onto a lot of these, strong Chien-Pao based teams. I don't know. I can't say I'm like too jazzed about Glamora moving forward, even if it was really good for this one weekend.
I gotta say, I'm flattered that you think I figured out Glamora. That Mon still scared the shit out of me every second. Every second of our set.
my round 2 loss was to a different variant of Glimdozo, and the game 3, I literally took 2 KOs on turn 1, and they just like literally just got an Icy Wind up and got a Toxic Debris up, and they still won with just Tatsugiri Dozo and back. Granted, they got a double protect to really take advantage of it, but like it's like that. I mean, just general with Dozo, you get so many turns, and it can be so hard to break for some teams. But it also, yeah, you're right. I think that leading Chien-Pao, it was the adaptation that was not intuitive for us to get to. But it took 3 or 4 iterations of playing against the Glimdozo team to actually figure it out over the course of like 4 different people's tournaments runs, right? So it's not intuitive, but it might not be as what was that? Go ahead, Alex.
I just had one more question to ask Chuppa before we move on from his team, because there's one more thing that is actually non-standard here that I don't think have talked about, is the Helmet Dozo.
Oh, yeah. So Helmet Dozo is like one of the big reasons why like I was Dozo for like months beforehand was just like I could not really figure out how to make it beat Torn Urshi. I think the group that I work with, I guess it's mostly just like Lexar and Marcus Dion who are like using this at Sacramento. The Dozo like Ninetales team, I think you beat Lexar at that event. I just do not really think that team beat competent Torn Urshi, and just like seeing his replays against Andrew Ding from the event, just like I don't know. And then using the team myself at a PC like a week later and just getting smashed by Torn Urshifu. Just couldn't figure out how to beat that matchup. Felt like it was probably time to abandon Dozo. Rocky Helmet changes that a lot because the Urshifu is like kind of liable to die if it ever tries to swing at Dozo. Rocky Helmet has a lot of downsides. This is like the frailest Dozo I've ever used without access to, leftovers protect cycling, which is usually really easy for Dozo. But it makes it so that like Urshifu Water, just a very common top Pokemon, also cannot smash you. And you have this like really funny interaction against like Sashmons like Pow, which at this event especially didn't have as much Ice Cold crashes in the past. It's an interesting item for sure.
Yeah, it's really cool. Speaking of Urshifu, not its greatest performance. I think there's a lot of Pokemon that were putting the pressure on it as well. I don't think Torn Ursh as an archetype did very good. I'm seeing where is it? Is the first one Ryan Bailey? Am I crazy? I don't know.
Yeah, I think Torn Ursh and in general Torn with like Urshifu and Landorus Eye, like this archetype was something that was like heavily targeted coming into the event, because that's a lot of thought amongst many different building groups was that it was going to be a dominant playstyle coming in, and I think many different teams decided to all simultaneously target it coming into this event. So we ended up seeing it significantly underperform, and I would be skeptical to say that Torn Ursh is gone, because I think it will probably come back, and it is a little bit of a boogie monster. If you don't respect it, then I think in the future it will come back, but it did end up underperforming in this event.
Yeah, I know that, in me and Chuppa's DMs, we were also saying, yeah, Torn Ursh is definitely a boogie monster. I agree. I think we used the
Yeah.
same wording too.
Uh,
Um, I
um,
just do.
I disagree with the idea that Urshifu fell off. I think Water Urshifu fell off. Dark Urshifu
All right,
had one of the
talk to me
highest win
about
rates in the entire tournament.
talk to me
It
about
had
Dark
a
Ursh.
54% win rate, and it had a conversion rate that I think 9 out of the 40 people who brought it made day 2, which is a very high conversion rate, 54%, 55% win rate if you round up. That guy really overperformed. It was really good this tournament, and so I think that Urshifu just does something that no other Pokemon does, right? Like it breaks Protect. I guess it's now one other Pokemon that does that, but like it's and the metagame was a little more hostile towards Water Urshifu, but I really do think that maybe we've got to the point where Dark Urshifu is the better one, and I think that one's going to shoot up in usage.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think Dark Urshifu is like, I don't know. The main thing that's like I'm kind of worried about with is just like I feel like Flutter play, people can still kind of like keep adding Flutter to more teams, keep mashing Terra Fairy, and it's just like I don't exactly know how Dark Urshifu keeps up with that. It just seems like this top Pokemon in the format and its most common Terra type are going to continue to be good against it. I think Dark Urshifu is great, but a lot of like teams are just going to have a Flutter main that like forces it to be pretty careful about how it's moving.
It's
Or
a,
Terra, Stellar Terra Blast. That I think that happened on stream. So
it did. It did.
Yep.
Oh my god.
I think that Scarf or not. I mean, maybe Scarf is its niche, but yeah, in terms of like the Focus Sash set, it does just in ways feel like a worse Chien-Pao. It doesn't have the speed tier. Chien-Pao is hitting through Protect, but I don't know. There's just a number of other things that Chien-Pao has in relation to a very important Pokemon named Fluttermane that I think gives it the edge. But yeah, I think we've talked a bit about the metagame. Let's jump back into specific teams. Talk about what are the stranger teams in top 4. Colin's team. I'm just kidding. We're going to talk about Anton's team. Anton's team. Yeah, this is a really cool 6 here. A return to the Torn Goldie Drago combination, but that wasn't really how Anton was playing it in most of the games that I saw, and my experience playing against it too. Really leaning in on a fake out follow me core to spam these very strong broken spread moves, and then Screamtail the final piece to really help enable these Pokemon get around their counters. It made typical counterplay into these Pokemon tricky to find or tricky to succeed with.
Yeah, playing against Anton, like, I only fought him in round 14. Like, I'm pretty sure we were both locked for COD. It was a pair up. I had good res. I wasn't sweating it too much, and I was able to narrowly win. This team is terrifying. I have no idea what's going on with it, and it's like clearly so very strong. I have no idea what lessons I'm supposed to take away from this team, but it is doing a lot of things right.
Yeah, very cool build. The Torn is there to catch you off if you're ever disrespecting the ability for the team to just go fast and sweep you. There's a lot of Pokemon that might be playing it slow but can go fast. I'm mainly looking at Ogerpon and Golden Go. They might want to go for a nasty plot or a follow me, but maybe the Ogerpon just rips a Terra Water and a Ivy Cudgel into you, or maybe the Golden Go just goes for Terra Steel, make it rain turn 1, and that's enough to soften up your team for Drago. They're a classic combination where Drago doesn't like Fairy and Golden Go beats the Fairy. There's only one, unless you're running Primarina. But I actually wait. That was Screamtail. Screamtail's a Fairy too, right here.
yeah, true.
But yeah, like the team just is so tricky, and I think the Pokemon that punishes mistakes more than anything is Screamtail. It is the most punishing Pokemon. Sometimes you're looking at Screamtail and just thinking, okay, I can't protect at the wrong time. But it's not as simple as that. Sometimes it's you can't, use the attack that you want to use because they'll disable it. You can't use the attack that you want to switch to next turn because then you might get encored. I was a victim of this. I wanted to go for an Ivy Cudgel into a Golden Go, but I got encored into Hornleech, and then Golden Go's just sitting pretty. Like there's just so many dangerous situations that Encore Disable can put you in when it's coming from Pokemon as fast as Booster Speed Screamtail.
I think the thing that stands out to me about this team is also just like how many tools it has. Is that like if you're like I have a lot of respect for Anton as like a player, and if you are like a really good player and you can take advantage of all these tools and think about these like long-term lines, because especially with like Screamtail, like on-court stable Screamtail, and it can be like really tough to just be able to think of all the possible scenarios that happen. And especially when you're playing in tournament when you have a very limited timer, it can be very difficult to like intuit exactly what is going to happen within like the next 5 turns. And so like when you have all these tools available to you that your opponent doesn't have access to, it can just make end games way trickier, and you can get out of situations that seem like they're very winning for you, or like seem like they're very losing. And I think that's like what stood out to me the best about this team.
Yeah.
Now, go ahead.
I don't have much to say. Go ahead, Adi.
Now I will say I think that this team is very strong. I think it is weak to Pow Knight, which is not always a great position to be in. And Anton went, I think, 13-3 in this tournament, and I think all 3 of their losses were to Pow Knight. They also did, I think, win 4 times against Pow Knight, so it's not like it's unwinnable by any means. It's obviously a very good team, and obviously bodied everything else that they played. And Anton's a fantastic player as well. But that is the one thing that I think that you can get around Screamtail a little easier if you have the ability to use priority moves to get around that on-court disable lock. And that's one of the downsides I think of it. And it's Terra Ghost too. It doesn't get necessarily hit by E-Speed. You're also throwing Sucker Punch. You're letting all these other moves. In our case, Thunderclap, E-Speed from Entei, Follow Me with Water Pawn. All these different ways to kind of disrupt the way that the Screamtail wants to play. And so I am skeptical of its staying power. I'm skeptical, but I think that the fact that it did so well into literally everything else, it maybe means that there's something to it maybe does have a little more staying power than I'm giving it credit for.
Mm-hmm. And then let's talk about some of the other teams as well. In the top 8 before we maybe pick some of the highlights in the rest of the tournament. Collins we can obviously skip, but Colin did play Brandon Davis on the last round of Stream, and then actually in the run back in top 8, Colin managed to take it back after losing on Stream to Brandon, using it's a Psy Spam team that gained 2 tools that you could probably highlight here, which is Stellar Terra on the Urshifu. We actually got to see that pop off on stream against Colin, in a very aggressive read of the Stellar Terra Blast onto Colin's Terra Fluttermane. That was really crazy to see. And then that there was also obviously Expanding Force on Hatterene is new to the DLC. And so that's something that these teams, Adi was frozen. I got a little distracted mid-sentence because Adi was frozen, and I was just like checking, like, is he good? Is he good? He is not good. Do you know if the rematch was close? Honestly, you would think that I would have talked to Colin about it more, but there was just so much happening on the weekend that I didn't. And but yeah, I know that Colin did take it. He went into the set saying he knew what to do. So Colin had a plan. Whether it was a solution to the matchup or a solution to the player, I don't know. Colin found a way, though. He's Colin Higher. But yeah, honestly, there's otherwise not too much to say about this team because we've seen this even get top 8 at like other tournaments this season. Stuff like almost exactly like this. So
I do want to give a shout out to Brandon Davis because he's SoCal local. I don't know him that well personally, but he is a good friend of a good friend. And this was his first day too, and a bunch of SoCal locals that came up for Portland ended up doing super well on day 2, and it's always good to see like new blood do super well at their, at some of these events. So yeah, shout out to Brandon Davis.
Yeah, wow, that's rich coming from you. I hate seeing new players do well. I want to see
honestly.
just the old goats. Just the old goats. You have to earn it. Gosh, these kids.
I hate to see my friends succeed.
That too. That too.
What's the quote?
We don't need to go into
be, like,
the.
perfectly clear. I am joking. I think there were a lot of like people that were like kind of on the come up for this event. Like a local of mine named Lorenzo made day 2 for the first time. Eli Nelson got top 16, and that's somebody that I've had the chance to play in day 1 at regionals a few times this year. And this year I was like playing him for my win-in match near the end of day 2. There's just a lot of people that like really leveled up for this tournament, and that was great to see.
Chuppa, your top 8 was against Jose, right? I believe this was Jose's first top 8. Number of close ones, and I played him in the last round, the quote winning in. We both made it into cut, but yeah, I remember talking with Jose, a very nice guy, and yeah, he's like, he was just, like, this is gonna be like such a big break for me. He says that he always gets taken down by Alberto, of all people. He's played Alberto a bunch, and Alberto is his demon. But yeah, really nice guy, great to see. And so yeah, I don't know if Joe's still here or not, but I actually don't really want to spend any time talking about your team, Joe. I've seen this before. We'll see it again. So cool. Congrats on the top 8, Joe. Couldn't get the repeat. It would have been really cool to see the three-peat, but Anton was cooking. Let's talk about Zomog. Actually, this was Ryan Haig was my opponent, and yeah, this was the most successful of this archetype that I was kind of hating on. I think maybe in the preview episode, saying that I do not believe in Latias balance. This is what I would call Latias balance. It's just got a lot of
You are correct.
Yeah, it's Latias balance. I don't know. There's just like bulky Pokemon and a Latias. So, however, Ryan was using a Pokemon that I thought was made illegal. I didn't know you could still use it. That's Arcanine Hisui. I thought, we had the new dog in town, Entei, and also the old cat, Ensign. This guy was supposed to be canceled. But here it is, and it was definitely giving me a run for my money. I barely managed to beat Ryan. We also did have a disconnect on turn 1 in top 8 that definitely swayed the way the set played out. It was really unfortunate. But yeah, it's a really strong team that is doing some of the stuff that we were seeing kind of towards the tail end of the last format. Landorus and King Gambit are just a deadly set of, offensive Pokemon that can really catch you off guard with, their strong abilities and coverage.
Yeah,
I still feel like I don't have a very good read on like how Latias plays, how strong I think it feels. I think Ryan Haig had like at least one stream set this weekend, right? I need to see that Pokemon like actually used to figure out like if I think it's good or if I think it's bad, because initially I thought it was kind of bait, and the kind of Pokemon that gets one top 8 appearance, and I need to figure out now, is it actually better than the one top 8 appearance implies, or is it worse?
I'm still not impressed with it, and maybe my team isn't the matchup for it, but yeah, Ryan did bring it against me in our first game and then proceeded to bench it in the games going forward. It just was not very impressive in my opinion. We do see it appear in top 32 and top 64 with 3 day 2 appearances out of a total. I don't know.
You can add mine as well, because I have Latios, which technically a different Pokemon, but also technically basically the same Pokemon. So
that's fair. I forgot we do have a Hoenn Wandering Legend defender in the call.
Are Latios and Latias related?
They, I think, are brothers.
Okay.
I think they're brothers.
Wait. I thought they were hooking up.
Wait.
Brother
I think you're
brother and sister.
I think you're thinking of Ash and Latias. Dude, but we were jumping out of order here. We were just talking about Ryan's team, but ESM had to bring up his Latios. We could talk really quickly about your team, ESM. Why don't you tell us about your 5 1-for-1s in day 2?
No, I think this team was really good. I ended up taking 2 losses to Eli, who Chuppa mentioned earlier, and one of them was just the one in day 2 was super egregious. Like, I think this team was definitely strong enough to make cut, and I let the team down in day 2 for sure. I think what's interesting about the team is that a lot of the Pokemon are just like pretty heavily underexplored. I think T-Tar and Primarina specifically were very good in the meta because they just naturally are able to trade damage well. I know Alex is not necessarily a believer in these Pokemon. We
I
had a
like to
conversation
tease,
about
but like
this.
the thing that ESM does well is find Pokemon that are like the perfect fit for the job, you know, and the finding Pokemon that can just checkmate you in strange ways. That's one of the things that Primarina does really good right now. Is that Water Fairy is just a very good typing. I don't mean to steal the spotlight from you. Go ahead and explain that.
No, yeah. So I think like one thing that I went into this team, or one thing that's interesting about this team is that all of these Pokemon have a very unique set of resistances, and so they all, like one thing that's very interesting is that Fire Dark, which I mean two Pokemon use, but mostly we're talking about Incineroar, are just double walled on this team with Como-O, Primarina, and T-Tar, and like a lot of other Pokemon like are similar in that sense because like for example Urshifu is double walled by Latios, Primarina, and like Como and Rillaboom both kind of wall the Surging Strike, and so this team has like a lot of fire natural resistances to many different typings, and so utilizing its bulk and natural resistances to kind of come to this team that was like just made it so that all the Pokemon are really bulky, and it technically doesn't have any speed control, but all my mons are naturally actually fast enough that if you don't bring your Tailwind Pokemon with like Tornadus, then you're actually just going to be outsped by Latios with Icy Wind and by like natural mons speed. And if you do bring your Tornadus, well then you just brought your Tornadus against Tyranitar and Latios, and it's probably not going to do very much in the matchup. So I thought the team was pretty well positioned. I think, other than the fact that, or like Como was not as impressive as it was during Sacramento's run, where in Sacramento I think nobody was respecting Como. It was a very physical heavy meta, and there were really no tools at the time that people were able to really beat it with, except for Terra Fairy Heatran back then. Nowadays, Como is much less well positioned, and it does have natural answers that are just present on many teams. So you do have to play more carefully around it. And so it was more of a fifth or sixth one on this team rather than being the build around. I did think T-Tar and Primarina were mons I was very, very impressed by, and I was a little bit surprised actually that I was the only one in day 2 with like Primarina specifically because I think this mod is really, really good. Um, and yeah, I think I definitely was leaving some of this, or like I did want to bring this team because it is a little bit of my favorites. As much as you want to joke about it, is a lot of the pieces are stuff that I like to play with, and um, since I don't have like the world's invite or whatever on the line, I did just want to play with, or like prove that I can build a team again that is not just using the meta stuff because that's boring to me in general. And then yeah, I guess somebody put in chat also pointed out this is 3 Terra Steel, 3 Terra Grass, which I thought was just kind of funny.
Mm-hmm. The 3-3. Yeah, ESM is a Karen. That's just the reality. Yeah, he just likes to use for fun Pokemon, and he's already got his Worlds invite. You know, I'm gonna have to be joining him because I've already got my Worlds
Yeah,
invite, and
let's
so
go.
we're just gonna be trolling the rest of the season, just running the stupidest teams you can think of. Because what else are you gonna do? Try hard like Chuppa?
I tried so hard to gatekeep you, but I couldn't.
Damn it. Now who's going to give me teams? Choppa's not going to do it. Alex isn't going to do it.
Dozo Cartoons,
Yeah,
bro. Dozo.
I could give you teams. They're just not going to be mine.
Okay.
I guess somebody in chat is asking why Magmar over something like Ogerpon Hearthflame. This is also something that I guess Magmar has come back. It's been a while since we've gotten Follow Me on Magmar. It used to be an event move back in like 2014 or whatever, and now we recently just got it back. And a lot of people were talking about it, but nobody had the guts to actually end up bringing it, I guess. I know that I think Electabuzz got a result in Limitless Tours or whatever, but the Magmar is actually just really bulky. It's much bulkier than Ogerpon if you invest in its defenses. It's a 500 base stat mon with Eviolite, so it is actually just really bulky. And with Flame Body and Follow Me, it actually shuts out a lot of physical attacking teams. Like I brought a Magmar Como O like centered like team into most of my Pow Knight matchups, which I did end up playing quite a lot, and they almost always had no matchup into me because they cannot stop you from setting up both Magmar or setting up Como O and killing the Magmar, and every time they attack into the Magmar, they have to risk burns. So like if the Pow like Sacred Swords into the Magmar, it does like 25, 30% or 35% maybe, and you risk a 30% chance to burn. And if your Pow gets burned, you just instantly lose the game. But even if it doesn't get burned, you're getting this +2 on Como. So like it's a huge matchup check into a lot of physical teams, and like this is similar to like the Sacramento stuff where if you don't have a Como matchup, it was extremely exacerbated by the Magmar because with the Follow Me support alongside Flame Body, it made it so that if your physical mons, if you needed physical mons to get by Como O, then you probably just lost the game. So it was very good in the matchups that it was brought in. I will say though, Magmar wasn't that applicable in the other matchups because um, it can be sometimes a little bit passive, and against like other setup mons it can be ignored, and there are other ways around Magmar, but in the matchups it was brought in, it was very good.
We have one more question. Let's do it quick, and then we'll talk about some of the rest of the teams. Somebody asked, what would you change, or what was the hardest matchup?
The hardest matchup, I played this like Smeargle Blood Moon team. I've said before when talking about like playing off meta stuff, but when you play off meta, I think like some of the hardest matchups tend to be other off meta teams because when you're targeting standard, there's just going to be holes in your game plan. And so like when I was playing against Smeargle Blood Moon and specifically Goldango, Goldango is an issue for this team. And as for what I'd change, like I don't really know right now. Like I probably won't revisit this team, but it felt very, very strong at this event. And like I said earlier, if I played better on day 2, I think I should have cut this event. And the team was strong enough. I think, in my opinion, that the team was strong enough to win the event, but I just let it down and I didn't play up to that level on that day. So it was Alex who was playing up to that level on that day.
We let Magmar down. Magmar, no. Okay, so I don't know. Oh yeah, I think we wanted to talk about the last top 8 team, Jose's. This team, it was honestly that there's not a lot to say about it. It's not a brand new archetype or anything. It's the Fluttermane with the Icy Wind speed booster paired with Urshifu, a really strong opener with a lot of supporting tools that we'll probably see a lot more of as we go forward in the Regulation F format. Ogerpon Wellspring for Follow Me support, Incin for Fake Out Intimidate support. Raging Bolt and Lando are both just 2 solid offensive cleaners, and so team had a very good balance of offense and defense here. Good typing to cover for each other, and yeah, it was strong in my experience. So when I ended up playing against Jose, with that though, let's all look through the rest of the teams that kind of like made day 2. Are there any standouts that we want to give a quick mention to? Carson was the 11-3 bubble, also on the same team as Chuppa, so not really anything to say about it, but obviously a sign of merit of the team,
Can we take a look at both Eli's team and then Everett's team? Like
Eli and Alton?
Hey guys, just as a heads up, I'm gonna have to sign off now. It's been really good being on the phone with you guys, and I'll just have to catch the rest of the episode later. But thank you for having me.
Yeah. You two have a good night, Chuppa.
Thanks for
Take
coming
care.
on.
Okay,
Thanks
good
for
night,
coming
guys.
on.
Yeah, I did forget to mention at the top, but Chuppa did have to go early. It's a bit later on the East Coast than it is the West Coast. Audia stuck in the Mid Coast, so he'll have to stay around. Let's talk about Eli's team. Eli's team is using the Rain Archaludon stuff. It's got the Electro Shot, but the main thing that is standing out to me here is there's a Baxcalibur. It seems like an okay Pokemon right now. I don't know what are its main strengths and weaknesses. I haven't actually given the Pokemon much consideration, but it's obviously got like it's a pseudo legendary. It's got good stats. I could see it performing well, especially with the good defensive Terra and Poison. Was there anything else in particular you wanted to mention about this team, ESM?
I think, well, I played against it a couple times, twice, and I think this in general is a team that I would expect to do very well in going forward, because I do think like one adaptation that I thought was very interesting about this team that made it very tough to play against was Dragon Pulse on Archulodon, because a lot of teams, well, like you do have to give up the immediate power of Draco Meteor, but a lot of teams actually do want to bait Archulodon into throwing out some Draco Meteors and then eventually endgaming it by ignoring it. Because Archulodon naturally is a Pokemon that is very, very bulky, and it's almost impossible to like just straight up kill it. With like some exceptions, which is basically just Lander's Eye. And if you have Draco Meteor, you are put in a situation where like you either need to switch it out and lose its stamina boost, or you have to just be content with the fact that you're not going to be doing very much damage with your special attacks. And so I think Dragon Pulse is like kind of a very interesting move, because you can accumulate 1 or 2 boosts with your Electro Shot, and then once your rain is gone, or like once you're put into an end game with Archulodon, they can no longer ignore it, because then their Dragon Pulse, they're just starting to one-shot it. And I know that like some people have been kind of sour. I was kind of a hater of Archulodon and Rain in general, but after playing against it a couple times and um, just seeing the team in action, I do actually think that this is something that we could end up seeing more in the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's actually let me check how the Mon did overall. Only 8 of them ended up earning championship points, and Eli was the deepest run of that. But there were 4 of them in day 2 of the ones that did get championship points. 4 made day 2, 4 did not. And yeah, the deepest one having Pelipper, I think that does make sense to me, because I think Electro Shot is the strongest tool that the Pokemon has, and you want to make it as easy as possible to get up that Rain. Rain is relatively uncontested. I don't know how many Tyranitar or Torkoal there are out there, but the most common weather setter still feels kind of like Rain Dance Torn, and while you are like giving Torn the increased accuracy boost on Bleak Wind, your Archuludon is also just like cool Electro Shot, and I resist flying. So Pelipper isn't really feeling too bad of a bring, just because it supports Archuludon really well, and flying is a very strong offensive typing. But yeah, I would not be surprised to see more of the Pokemon going forward. What's up, Adi?
You want to click Dante's team? Their team is a very interesting Archuludon.
How interesting. Oh, this is the team that Randy played against. Leftovers. Wow. Wow. Where's the beat up, bro? I want to beat up my body press Archuludon. If it's got protected leftovers, yeah, I remember Randy saying he played against the Clear Smog Shroom and the Terra Dark Suicune, like just brutal. But yeah.
I think there was also a team. I don't know if it was. I think it did also make day 2. I don't remember who was running it, but it was. I played it on ladder, which was Loaded Dice.
Here it is.
Rillaboom.
Here it is. Somebody pointed it out in the chat. Ryan Bailey. Loaded Dice Rillaboom with body press.
With body press Archuludon, yeah.
Let's go. I mean, you could also just side Surging Strikes. What's stopping you?
Yeah, true. It doesn't take that much from Surging Strikes.
No, it doesn't. Seattle local, Seattle represent.
True.
That's so funny. All right. What's up, buddy?
Do we have more to say about Archuludon?
No. I was gonna move on to the next team that ESM shouted, which was a Psy Spam team, and then maybe we can move on to a team that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah,
But,
let's talk about Side Spam.
Everett Falloon was one of my 2 losses, actually in the whole tournament, because I didn't lose in the second day, but I only lost twice in the first day. My first chance at a winning in at 6-1, I think is the record there, was against Everett, and I got cooked. In the second game, I had a pretty crucial timeout that ended up losing me the game, but even if I managed to win that second one, a third one was going to be a tall order. Psy Spam is a very tricky archetype to play against. This one has the Trick Room option, but there's also just a Scarf or Shifu, a choice specs Chi Yu, and the Iron Crown was speed booster energy, and so it's kind of hard to bring your tools that respond to the slow mode while also being outsped by everything. And yeah, this team can do some very devious stuff on lead.
Yeah, I've once again shout out to Everett and also rest of SoCal for who showed up at Portland. That did super well. But I think Side Spam in general was a team that I did not respect very much going into Reg F, and after playing against it a lot on ladder, specifically this Iron Crown Pokemon, I have a lot more confidence in. It beats a lot of its natural counters just by raw powering through it, and I think Iron Crown is just a lot better than I thought it was, and there's not much else to say about it. But I think Side Spam is very real, and I think that it should be something that people should be looking into more into the future.
Mm-hmm.
I have the opposite take, because I like looking at people's tournament runs when they do well, and so I'm looking at Everett's run. Right, everyone said Side Spam is not going to be good because Incineroar is back in the format, and obviously Incineroar had a pretty low usage and had a pretty low conversion rate. I think it's still probably going to hover around 40% usage. Everett's record against Incineroar was 2-3, 2 wins, 3 losses, and both of their wins were in day one against people who did not make it. I think no, actually one of them in D2, but yeah, 2 and 3 is like it's Incineroar did not do well this tournament. This was Side Spam's tournament partially because Incineroar had a down tournament. I think as people figure out how to use Incineroar and what comps it's supposed to be on, what sets it's actually supposed to run in what is a format that is very different than it's been placed in the past, it's going to be Side Spam's going to have a lot harder time, right? Like if Anton's Assault Vest Incineroar becomes a lot more common, Side Spam is going to have a really hard time against that. And so that is my reservation about Side Spam, is that the reasons people thought Side Spam was bad going into the format are still around. They might be lower usage than we thought, but they are still around. And on some level, you might just be playing a little bit of a matchup roulette unless you really, really tech your team to beat those specific guys.
All right.
Yeah,
I got this one.
Okay, let's go.
I'm invoking the regional champion card to say that your take is fake. Sorry, but it does just kind of completely invalidate anything you say. Like, I am the best Reg F player. Unfortunately, I do get to just say what is right and what is wrong. And first off, Adi loves to say numbers and shit, but he just lied. He went 3-3 against it. He just didn't count right. Yeah, there's 4 Incineroars in day one, and he lost to Anton. But there's 3 wins.
Miscount.
So not only did he miscount with his bad take, but I do think Iron Crown just I think it's the right Pokemon. Maybe this isn't the right team. It has one of the things that I think you need to have on a Iron Crown Side Spam team, which is Urshifu Water. There are just easy ways to tech for Incineroar. And so Urshifu is one that I think is a great way to just keep it in check. Maybe Ursaluna is one, but I think that Pokemon requires a bit too much support to get through it. I think Landorus Incarnate is another Pokemon that can be teched onto Side Spam teams to give Incineroar a bad time. And I don't think it's going to be too hard for Side Spam teams to cook up options to deal with Incineroar. With Iron Crown just kind of dealing with, in my opinion, the best dark type being Qianpao, the Tachyon Cutter just taking that thing out. It's a really threatening Pokemon that I think once people start to perfect the builds is going to be very annoying.
So I think one thing I neglected about Iron Crown, which I want to bring up here when playing against it, that makes Iron Crown so much more dynamic than like Armor Rouge or other previous side spam ones in the format, is that something that's interesting is that, like, okay, yes, Iron Crown has some very clear weaknesses. Steel Psychic is not a good that good of an offensive typing. It has Pokemon that it cannot really quote unquote touch because it's both types are resisted, and especially in the case of its stronger stab, expanding force, steel or like psychic can be immune by dark types. But there is something important to know is that when pairing it with Indeedee, if you can, in matches where they cannot reset terrain, they if you just kill the or like follow me with Indeedee and force them to kill the Indeedee, then you're put in a position where it becomes very, very awkward for your opponent to deal with it, because then you have to deal with Iron Crown and its partner Pokemon. And because Iron Crown is just a naturally fast Pokemon, and you can have the option to do even Speed Booster if you want to, you can just play it on like Tailwind teams or even Speed Sandwich teams if you want. And um, it doesn't need as much support as Armor Rouge, where Armor Rouge as a standalone Pokemon is like kind of a mid-speed one, so it really needed either the Tailwind or the like Weak Armor or the Trick Room to really support it. In Iron Crown's case, if you just let Indeedee die and bring in another Pokemon, now you're just have two really strong attackers on the field, and um, even if you have some of the tools that could potentially deal with it, like steel types or even with like Rillaboom or Incin, like you do actually just have to like um, contend with the other slot more. And because of that, like the team is a lot more dynamic than past iterations of Spam have been. So like from that point of view, I think yes, like Incin, he didn't have great. Like you can say that it might not have a great matchup into Incin, but I actually do think like it is like a lot deeper than just that, and perhaps his team wasn't well teched for Incin, but I think that this can be further like iterated on, and I don't actually think it's really a matchup fishy team, but that's my opinion.
That's just a take.
I do think that size spam is going to be around all format, and I think it's going to be a team that you have to respect all format, and I think that it's going to win a lot of games. But I also think that if you put an Incineroar on your team, suddenly it becomes a lot easier to deal with. And if you don't have an Incineroar on your team, then you really have to tech for it a lot harder.
All right, guys. So you want to beat?
I do have.
I was
Go
gonna
ahead.
say, I was gonna say, if you want to beat Adi, like just run side spam with like literally any way to beat Incin. Wow, it sounds like a free win.
I mean, the side spam player that did do the best and had a fantastic record against Hinton had a Gallade on the team, right? And they did really well, partially because they actually had I think a much stronger way of beating Incineroar. I think that team is a little scarier, honestly. But I also think that we're burying the lead a little bit because the other Pokemon that Everett and who was it? Was it Brandon? Was the other side spam player who got top cut? They both had in common was they both had Ursaluna. And if you look at the stats, Ursaluna had the highest win rate of any Pokemon that I think had over 7 uses. It had 11 people use it. And it
oh no, Adi, you're cutting out real bad.
Hello? Can you hear me?
It sounds better now.
Hello?
Try again. Maybe he can't hear me.
All right.
ESM, can
now,
you?
Okay, now can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You're good.
Okay, maybe it's just Adi.
Can you hear me?
Big Pikachu doesn't like Adi's takes.
I'm good.
Says Rafa. All right. He's getting hit by the
wait,
psychic
can you not hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Go ahead, Adi. So finish your.
Oh, okay. Well. So I don't know if I got to the point where I said Ursaluna had the highest win rate of all Pokemon, 2% usage.
Yeah.
But that was what I was trying to get to. I think that there were 11 people who used it, and 4 of them made day 2, and I think 8 of them, if I might have miscounted, but I think 8 of them went 6-3 or better, which is kind of crazy, right? This is not the most common Pokemon, and almost every single person who used it did well. And so that I think is there's 7 Ursaluna who got points who went 6-3 or better out of the 11 people who used it, and so I think that's the real takeaway is that Ursaluna base form is really, really strong. And yes, you usually are going to put it on size spam, but we see a lot of people went 6-3. We saw Gary. Gary's another player who I guess we should talk about. Well, while we're talking about players, also used Ursaluna, used a team that was very similar to his Worlds team, where he got DQ'd after winning his last round to make day 2, and then he got DQ'd. This time he won his last round, or he was going to win his last round, and then popped off too hard, and his switch got disconnected. Is what I heard. What I sort of saw. I was standing around the area, and I think he posted something about that on Twitter as well. But so he should have gone 11-3, and I'm not sure if he would have bubbled into cut or not. But
He said he would have finished 9th.
He would have finished 9th. So I think Ursaluna really, really overperformed this tournament, and that's the guy that I think is scary on the Brandon team and the Everett team and the Gary team, more so than the actual Sci-Spam modes, which I think are a little easier to tech for.
Adi, Team Rocket League asks, wasn't it Glamora that had the highest win rate, or did he misremember?
I chose my stats very specifically. Glamora was the highest win rate with above 3% usage. Ursaluna has 2.2% usage. It's the highest win rate of all Pokemon, above 2%.
I did hear him say 2%, and I was like, okay, yeah, like cool. We're just gonna like
We're finding the stats.
Classic, like
you want the highest usage, highest win rate of 1%? It's a different Pokemon.
Yeah, it's gonna say it's like the classic, like the Spurs are 16 for 19 in their last 19 games. It's like, okay, so they're 16 for 20 in their last 20 games. Like, or sorry, I said 16 for 19.
What is the highest win rate Pokemon with 1% usage?
What is it?
It was Smeargle.
Smeargle.
I
Okay.
lost it. I lost it to Smeargle.
Like part of it, thing is like Smeargle, I think is partially who brought it to the tournament, right? Like Enzo and Ian brought it to the tournament and made it to it. Ryan Hebert also he did really well with it as well. But I know Ian and Enzo are known for using Smeargle. They've been using it for the last 10 years, right? Like I'm not surprised that they did well with it. They're just good players. So I am less inclined to say Smeargle is a good Pokemon, and more inclined to say the people who use Smeargle are really good at using Smeargle. Whereas Ursaluna is not an old Pokemon. Some people are, like Gary has used it for a long time. The Sci-Spam players probably have used it for a long time. But it's not a Pokemon that has seen such consistent results, and that's why I think it really overachieved. Same with Glamora in terms of win rate, although I guess Glamora you could also argue good players used it. I don't know. Ursaluna is the one that I think actually really overachieved this tournament, though.
Yeah, well, okay, I understand that point, but I do think like the strength of Iron Crown, which is why I'm most interested in Everett's team instead of Brandon Davis's team, because Brandon's team is a new take, or I guess it's an old team with new tools is the best way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever it has is something that we have not really seen before in terms of like Sci-Spam, because it's a speed sandwich team where you have the fast mode and the slow mode, and it is something that like it is new with Iron Crown, because this wasn't possible before with the old tools that we had available, and Iron Crown unlocks something new. And not only do we have this speed sandwich option, but we also just have the straight fast option. And Sci-Spam has like in VGC, to my knowledge, has never had the historically like super fast option. So like being able to just use like Iron Crown on straight Tailwind and just expanding force faster than your other Pokemon, or just like Speed Booster or whatever it is is something that I think is very powerful. And I have I don't know, I just think that Iron Crown is very good, and so it's something that I would want to explore more in the future.
Let's see if there's any other quick teams that we want to wrap up here on in day 2, though. I think that I should open this up really quick.
I don't know if I have them. I've got one more number about Iron Crown. It has a 50% win rate against Incineroar, which is higher than I thought. 54% win rate overall. Its win rate against Kingambit was 30%. So if there's one Pokemon that really scares it, I guess it's Kingambit.
Yeah. How did Kingambit's win percentage look?
It also had a 14% win rate against Ursaluna, which I think just let's see. I don't know what Kingambit's look like. Kingambit had a 53% win rate.
Okay.
It did pretty well.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, we might have to do another stream where Audi just breaks down every number in the tournament and tells you what they mean.
This is more fun than playing Pokemon. It's just looking at the numbers after the tournament.
It is. It's so good.
No, I do love looking at stats.
The numbers are so cool. They are very telling. They honestly are very telling if you want to learn, like, every person that plays a team is going to inject their own understanding of the game onto the way that the team plays, but there are still some things that you can interpret from, how one Pokemon matches up head to head versus another, and so it's really cool what the data can tell you. Um, but yeah, I was gonna pull up the day 1 to day 2 conversion pictures, but I don't actually have those, and there's some other stuff that I wanted to make sure that we talk about and cover. One was some of the stories from. Oh yeah, so let's do this one really quick. This one's very quick, but I thought it was really cool that they did Hitmonchan on stream. That was just dope to see that Jody got to go back there and play Hitmonchan RPS. It's just really cool
Let's
how
go.
the Pokemon community has felt like it's just like growing, and like there's just been more influence from like Twitter and online, and I like in a good way. It started out with some Japanese players noticing, hey, there is a funny RPS with these 3 moves now in the game, and now you basically just have like a VGC boxing mode. Like, you could actually just like have like a 1-2 combo, like, oh, turn 1 Mach Punch, turn 2 Focus Punch, or like, so a lot of people just rip Focus Punch turn 1, whatever. It's just like it's really cute, and I love that they're doing a lot with the stream to kill time between games, because that's just the matter of fact, and that they're making great strides with like the cookie decorating, the all these other things that they've been doing at the events. They're really killing it with stream production. Um, yeah.
Screen production in the last year has leveled up a lot, and it is something that we don't really talk about that much, but it is something that we should applaud them for. They're taking steps in the right direction, and I hope to see more of that kind of stuff in the future.
hmm Um, and then the other thing that I wanted to mention was the story of the missing switches. Okay, so um, speaking of downtime on stream, I had played my top 8 game, and I finished as I believe Chuppa was finishing on stream against Jose, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna be playing the winner of Joe and Anton. Let's go see what's going on in that game. And like, I go outside, I take a walk, I go to the bathroom, come back, and this game's still not starting. So I walk over to Joe, and um, eventually, like Joe's actually walking over to another group of friends to tell them something. I catch up, and I'm like, hey Joe, like, why are you just like standing around? Like, why are you not playing your match? And Joe's like, they lost our switches. And I'm like, what do you mean they lost your switches? And he's like, they don't know where our switches are, both me and Anton's. And I was like, that's insane. So like I go tell some friends, and we're just like, this is crazy. And like, I mean, if they did truly lose the switches, like they all had rental codes, we should probably talk about that. I'll jump back to that. But they had rental codes. They could have played on other switches. They've done stuff like that for tournaments in the past. But I just went back into the play area where I played my top 8 set and instantly found the switches. I was like, wait, there's just 2 switches wrapped in team sheets right here. As you can see in the picture on Twitter. I guess I could go to my Twitter. I was just like, they're right here. And we were laughing so hard that like they were just right there the whole time. And yeah, we just took a picture of me pointing to them really quick. You can see Joe standing right here, like showing some other people, like they're right here. And then they just ended up finally playing their set. That was so funny. It was just too funny. Yeah, sometimes it's just the classic, like, where are my keys? Oh, they're in my hand, like, kind of situation. And then okay, so the other thing about the rental codes was that was super strange. Um, I don't know. I've been doing all the talking, but I guess I'll just tell the story about that. Is we sat down for round 1, and they're like, by the way, we're gonna need everybody's rental code. They come around and hand us match slips that are cut in half that we're supposed to write our rental codes on. And then I thought that was also going to be like the match slip for the round, but then they came around with actual match slips that we were supposed to sign and fill out and do that. And then I don't know. There's like this optional field when you're creating your team sheet online to submit a rental code, and they still made us do this like manual thing, which like is a new step, and I don't mind it as long as they just tell me online that it's not optional. If I have to make a rental code, just making me do it then. It was just so strange. And
No, but the thing is I thought this would have replaced, like, if you needed to get like hack checks or whatever. But then for people who qualified for day 2, they still asked you to take a screenshot of your rental code or whatever, when they should have just had that. So it
that's
just like
kind of fair. Where did those like
Yeah.
slips of paper with our rental codes even go then? What did they do with them?
That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah. It was strange. I mean, we're always like, we're always working on improving things, and so I think this was a step towards working on something, whether it was hack checks or disconnects or something. I don't know, but don't know if I have the answers to that one. I think that's it for most of the like random stories from the tournament that I wanted to mention. I can give more of my personal experience maybe in the team report. I don't want to make it too long, but I'll probably talk about some of that stuff there. Yeah, I think what was it? I don't know. Lost. Oh, smart money. We can talk about smart money. Last time we had John Hu and Rafa on with me and Adi for smart money, and I just did think it was funny. I mean, it's classic insider trading. I knew what Chuppa was going to be bringing. I knew Chuppa was bringing a very strong Dozo team, and Chuppa's like, as he said himself, the best Dozo player. So I was like, I feel like Chuppa's got a good shot at winning this, and it's just kind of funny to play against your smart money in the finals and prevent them from winning. So I did kind of like, I couldn't have done better on smart money because picking yourself is cringe and I ban it. So I mean I did win smart money regardless. I picked the highest finishing person, but it was just kind of funny. But
Any thoughts on that, Audie?
Audie ended up picking Roshan.
So, I mean, I can tell you why I picked Roshan. I picked Roshan because he said he was going to... Yeah, he said he was going to commit to a team. And then he changed his team like after top takes air. It's like, I would not have picked him if I had known he was changing. But, for what it's worth, he did change to Ursaluna, and Ursaluna was the call for this event. So, power to him.
Yep, true. Yeah. Both Rajan and Adi exhibited some, I'll say it, mid-bros mindset going into round 9. I was just standing around hanging out with them, and they were both like, all right, I'm feeling good for Charlotte. This was a good, prep for Charlotte. And I'm just like, what? You're literally 6-2. Just go win your next round. Like, it's just so silly. Like, I was like, come on, guys. Such doomers.
I will say, I think back to, I mean, the thing is, if you're 6-2, 6-2 is 6-2, right? It doesn't matter whether you, how you started, but looking at how I felt going into my win-in at San Antonio when I went 6-0 to 6-2, I was like, I have to win this. I'm going to feel so awful if I go 6-0 to 6-3. And this tournament, I went 2-2 to 6-2, and I was like, I'm just happy to be here. I'm just happy I'm going to get points out of this. I was not playing well all day. It was a totally different mindset. And then queuing up into Joe was not ideal. I think I probably could have. I don't know if I would have beaten a lot of the other players at 6-2, but I certainly was not going to beat him. And I played so badly that game 1. I feel awful.
Yeah, you're not the master of the comeback like Colin is. Colin's like king of like submarining. It starts out 0-2, but then they stream him in the winning end, and he pops off through the ceiling. Yeah, Rafa picked Mont. John Hu picked Randy. I don't know if anybody made it through to day 2, but I'm not here to talk about everybody else's picks. I mostly just wanted to talk about my pick of Chuppa, which I thought was very amusing. True, Mont did use cringe tornadoes. Mont said in the chat. And yeah, okay, so that's gonna pretty much wrap it up for Portland. We're getting towards the end of this thing, so I'll mention now, because I don't know, I could see myself streaming again later this week just to talk more about the regional run, because I could probably spend a lot of time just talking about that if people actually wanted to hear it. But if you have any questions about, me winning the whole darn thing, ask them now before we forget. While we go ahead and get set up for the Calc is right. So let's do some calcing. I thought I had one. I thought I could do one from my run, but I actually don't have one ready right now. Does anybody else?
Okay, I'll do one because we were talking about this in the car. How much does Primarina 188 special attack modest do to Chien-Pao with hyper voice with the spread?
All right,
And
188 modest.
Terraghost. Why not? Terraghost.
True, Terraghost Chien-Pao. Okay. Yeah, no, we were talking about this because Chien-Pao's a focus sash Pokemon. You don't actually need to know what its defensive stats are. And so I did not know what Chien-Pao's special defense stat was. Even after winning the tournament, I still was just like, oh, it's that? So 188 modest hyper voice from Primarina into Chien-Pao. Okay. I've got my number.
This is spread damage, right?
Yeah.
With spread, yeah.
Yeah, I got a number.
You had
Yeah,
a call
I have
on
a
something.
number.
No,
Yeah.
Oh, I guess, are you also guessing? You're the one that ran the
I'm also
Pokemon, bro.
guessing. I'm also guessing, but I think I have an idea.
If
so
you get it
you guys
wrong, then like you're just a fake Pokemon player. What the heck? All right. Well,
I mean, I'm super fake, but
you got to call on us because you're the one that proposed it.
okay. Adi first.
I think that if this doesn't two-shot and like comfortably two-shot, I'll be very disappointed in Primarina. And so I'm gonna say 70%.
I was a little lower. Gonna go with 65. ESM, what do you got?
I got 58.
58.
Like
All
59.
right. Oh no. You didn't say where the 4 is. Where's the 4? Is it in staff? Is it in defense? Is it in HP? Yeah, if it was for defense, I was still not in there. Damn. All right, it's doing 53 to 64. So, Adi, you and I were a little too confident in this this Pokemon special attack set, I guess.
This mon sucks.
Yeah.
Why would you use it?
It's so good. Primarina was farming this weekend.
I can use Urshifu or Fluttermane to kill this thing. I can use Ogerpon to kill this thing.
No, not if it terras. You can say that about anything.
Oh, or if you're into Primarina, you want to take that 50% helmet chip?
No, into Chien-Pao.
Oh.
Oh, I thought he was
Guys,
talking about
let's be
Primarina
good
as
into.
well.
Well, I mean, how are you killing Pao with Urshifu, like your Terra Water or something?
I'm not. I'm hitting with my other guy. Just hitting the other person with my Chien-Pao, and I'm using my partner, which is a physical attacker, to hit the Primarina that doesn't have a defense stat.
Oh.
Now, I mean, if you have a Magmar next to it, then yeah, the Chien-Pao's probably not going to do very much.
So,
you can Moonblast the Chien-Pao, it dies. Come on, man.
So, Adi, do you have a calc?
You know what? I got nerd sniped by someone asking what had the highest and lowest conversion rate, and so I've been looking at a spreadsheet for the last 15 minutes and not thinking about what we've been talking about.
It's been noticeable.
So
no offense, Adi, but it's been noticeable. Come on, man. Come on. Close it.
That's how you get me to shut up. Is you give me a math problem, and I'll just be like, oh shit, I got to solve this math problem.
All right. Well, I don't have a calc. You don't have a calc. So instead, Adi, present me and ESM with 2 stats that we have to guess somehow. Like, I want you to give us 2 stat quizzes. I'm gonna put your work. I'm gonna put your work to work.
My work to work. I wasn't actually done, but that's okay. We can. Oh, this is Top Cut. Hold up. I don't have conversion rates yet, which is what I was trying to get. But I can ask. So, obviously, Alex, you were a little busy while we were watching stream. But they showed the smart monies from all the smart picks from all the commentators. And one of them had an item as their breakout performer of this regional. They had the Assault Vest. Can you guess the usage of Assault Vest?
The assault vest usage, that's pretty amusing.
Okay, I have a number.
So is this like across what?
Across all. Yeah, I know I can do across all, and I can also do in day 2. I only have all right
so
now,
you're
but-
saying all, like, is it all championship point earners or all in the whole tournament?
No, all teams. Period.
Ooh.
Should we give 2 different numbers on?
No. Let's
You
just
can
do
give two
one.
different
Let's
numbers
just
if
do.
you wanna do-
I guess if you want to play, we can play both. Fine, let's play both. All right. What are the 2 categories,
Okay.
Adi? Remind me.
So the first is all. Okay. I mean, I could also do top 128 too.
No,
But let's
no,
just
no,
do overall in the tournament as well as just in day 2.
Okay. Let me think. I'm not ready.
I have 2 numbers.
I am not looking at the conversion rate of items. No, I am just looking at the lab mouse, which has all these stats, except for conversion rate. Which, by the way, I know they watch the stream. If you want to create a conversion rate metric for Pokemon, that would actually save me a little bit of trouble because I had to do that manually a lot of the time. That's the one thing I have to do manually. So,
All right. I've got my numbers. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to be very good at this. Yeah.
All right. ESM, what you got?
I think 85% for total tournament, and then 91% for day 2.
All right, now Alex, what do you have?
I'm not going to change my numbers. I promise. 54 for overall and 66 for the day 2.
I'll give you day 1. Day 1, the usage was 71.4%.
Okay.
Okay.
Which, to give you some perspective on that, the second highest item was Focus Sash at 53%.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost a full 20% higher than any other item in terms of usage. And then for day 2, where'd it go? Huh? Just okay. Now I can't find it on Lab Mouse. They're not showing me items for top 45. Oh no, they do. Okay, I just had to expand the page. For day 2, it actually went down.
No.
It is 68.9% usage in day 2. It's actually a lot closer to Focus Dash.
You said it was
64%
70.
usage.
Wait, it was 70 and 68?
It went from 74 to 68.
Oh, 74 to 68.
72 to 68. 71.4 to 68.9. So it went down a little bit, not very much.
Oh, that's
yeah.
crazy.
That's small.
I guess I overestimated. Well, for overall, I guess it makes sense. But even for day 2, it's only 68% of teams. I know. I was basically thinking like any team that wasn't Glimdozo would be running it. Oh, I guess Side Spam also doesn't run it. Yeah, I guess Side Spam also doesn't run it because Hand isn't meta.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
All right, Adi, do you have one more or no?
Let's see. Do you want to guess? I have a lot of stats sitting in front of me, but trying to figure out what the most fun one is. All right. The most common status move in the tournament was Protect, obviously. 40% of Pokemon had Protect on them. Can you guess? Only 40. Can you guess the? You know what? One at a time. We can do second, third, and fourth most used status
Can we
moves.
skip past
Or just
second?
we can do second.
Can we skip past second being Follow Me?
Second was not Follow Me.
Shit! All right. I gave it to you
Second
free.
was-
Yes, get it. What is it? What is second? Don't get it wrong.
Tailwind.
Tailwind?
It was Tailwind.
Shit!
It was Tailwind.
All right. Now
Tailwind
wait,
was
hold on.
8.9% usage.
What are the other 2 that we're doing? Second, third, and fourth?
Yeah.
Is Follow Me third?
Follow Me is third.
Okay, thank goodness.
Okay.
I'm not a fake
What is
gamer.
fourth?
Is fourth Taunt?
No.
Shit.
Taunt is not in the top 5.
Not even top 5.
I would have been Trick Room.
Not Trick Room. Trick Room is also not in the top 5. Trick Room is 6th.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's not. I don't think it's sub.
No, it wouldn't be sub. Life do? That's not a real answer.
Shut up. Oh, could it be
Party
Rage
Shot.
Powder?
So Rage Powder is, I think, number 10 or something. It's actually less used than Spore because,
Yeah.
And Parting Shot is number 5, but it's not number 4.
Okay. Oh. Okay. I think I
I
got
have
it
not
in
seen
chat, but-
anyone in chat get it, by the way.
Oh, it's not the one in chat right now?
No one in chat has got it.
No way.
No way.
Helping Hand
Spiky
is
Shield
below
doesn't-
Trick Room to everyone in chat.
Is it Spiky Shield?
It is Spiky Shield.
Oh,
Spiky Shield is
shit.
Holy.
Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. That's tricky. Rafa was there. Oh, chat's like a little bit behind. They're gonna be so mad because they were so close. They're all saying detect now with the delay, but Spiky Shield.
No, but Spiky is more popular because it's Ogerpon and Glim, I guess.
Yeah.
And Chestnut.
Mhm. That's crazy.
Yeah. All right. Those are my stats.
Okay.
I'm curious what the day 2 numbers look like, but I'm not going to subject all of you to guessing that too.
Okay, I forgot I asked for people to ask questions, and then I scrolled past them, and just because we just got carried away with our games. But somebody asked, was the team inspired by Dart's team? It was actually not, despite having 5 of the same Pokemon. I can get more into the process of how I came to the full 6 in the team report. I don't know if Raph was asking a question when he said Thunderclap into 1 HP Glamora, but the answer is Thunderclap. Did you... Do you think your team will sustain its dominance? No. That also I could probably go into more in the team report, but I felt like I was fighting uphill, and I think it's only going to get worse. I was very on.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
Finish your thought.
No, that's it. I was just saying I was very on it that day.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
you
have.
were insane
So,
that day.
we talk about more fun stats. First off, we had the most common 5-mon core is actually Chenpao, Ogerpon, Raging Bolt, Entei, Fluttermane at 9% usage. So yeah, like we did just use the most common dudes, right? We had a Dragonite as the 6th slot when a lot of people had Landorus, right, which starts team, I think. And the other fun stat is that among the top 15 in usage, no, not top. Oh, this is the here. Let me pull that up. Sorry, I was looking at day 2. That 5-mon core was still the most common 5-mon core at 5.6% usage, so not nearly as high as I said. But then also in terms of win rates, we had the top 6 Pokemon in win rates that are above. Let's see, how low can I go while still keeping the stat accurate? That are above 9.4% usage. King Gambit, I think, sneaks in above some of our Pokemon. Sorry, not Fluttermane. The other 5. The other 5 are the top 5 in win rates. Fluttermane does only have a 51% win rate, sadly.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, all of our Pokemon had positive win rates.
What if you just like remove the filter in general for like usage? What is just the highest win rate Pokemon?
The highest win rate Pokemon is Gallade. It had 2 appearances and it went 18 and 6. And then second was Screamtail. And then people that went 6-3.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. But there were 3 Screamtails, 2 Gallades, and obviously those are really lifted up by the fact that one person did very, very well with those mons. And then, like I mentioned, Smeargle, Ursaluna, Glamora, as far as Pokemon that actually saw some real usage.
Yep.
What are you using to find these stats? I'm just curious.
The LabMouse, labmouse.net.
LabMouse?
Yeah, they are super, super useful. They do not only do this for every single regional and major tournament, but also every single limitless tour. And it's all automatically uploaded as soon as the tournaments are done to their website. It's really, really useful. I've told them this. I think I said this on stream before. I used to scrape all the data from limitless and also from regionals, and I no longer have to do it because they just do it for me.
So why don't you link it for this tournament in chat before we get out of here, Audi?
Yeah.
Let's give him another shout. LabMouse. I love the tools that we have today. Stalruth, also a great tool. Cut Explorer, and the standings website that also lets you look at schedules. Like if you're just like, yeah, Alex like went 15-2. What did he lose to? And it's like, oh, he lost to Spam and he lost to Sun. Okay, I'm gonna run those teams. You know, like the. I guess. Wow. I was 0-2 against Torkoal. There's your counter team. Yeah. So that it's just really cool that we have these teams, these tools at our disposal. I think that's a large part of why the game has leveled up so much today. Is that people are able to use these tools that people are just putting out as free resources. Yeah, that's it. So I don't know. I'm actually thinking about maybe just doing like a hangout stream where I talk about the team, but also I am gonna record a team report with Adi. So
you want to do a live team report on stream?
Yeah, we could do that. Maybe honestly, but let's talk about it.
We did that once. Remember? We did that with your lapdog team way back in whatever series that was.
Lapdog. What? What's lapdog?
Laprisation.
Oh shoot. Okay, yeah. I mean, I'd be down. Yeah, maybe we do a live team report, like something like tomorrow or whatever. But yeah, do I bring Torkel back to locals, Rafa? Rafa's always trying to find an easy win. Who should we throw the raid to?
Oh, let's see who's streaming. Let's send it over to Kira, who is also streaming.
All right. Yeah, I think
like
we probably should raid someone that's streaming, Audie.
Yeah, well, Kira's a friend of mine. She is not playing BGC right now. She is playing Radical Red. But if y'all are cool with that, then we'll throw it over to her.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Make sure to sub to the YouTube to see fucking tub takes and the team report and follow the channel and
yeah,
know,
true. And follow ESM.
Follow tub takes.
Follow ESM
on Twitter
for his art. Dude,
All right, one more thing. Y'all never guess what the lowest win rate Pokemon was above 10 uses.
Was it Walking Wake?
It was Walking Wake,
Let's go! Easy.
Let's go.
All right, you guys have a good night. We might see you again later this week. Peace out.
See ya.
Yep.